help people understand what was really going on with the conflict in Israel, the rising anti-Semitism, hatred of Jewish people here in Australia, and to mobilize Australia so we didn't repeat the mistakes of Germany in the 1930s. So like many people, I watched the events of October 7th unfold sort of almost live on Twitter and was just in a state of shock. And then that was on the Saturday, the 7th of October. On the morning of the 9th, so the Monday morning, my daughter Freya, who you've met, Freya was at Sydney Uni then, and she called me and said, "Hey, Dad, the pro-Palestinian sort of socialist alliance on campus are planning a rally in the city centre against Israel." And I thought to myself, that's just an extraordinary thing to do, and appalling. I mean, the blood hadn't yet dried in southern Israel. They're still chasing terrorists around, and the IDF hadn't gone into Gaza yet. There was nothing to protest against except the existence of the state of Israel, and to show support for a terror organization. So I called up the police, Central Command in Sydney, and I said, I'm an Anglican minister. I've heard this rally's happening. It's unauthorized. I'm planning to organize a counter-protest. And they said, well, Mr. Leach, we are encouraging the Jewish people, the Jewish community, to stay out of the city center for their own safety. We can't guarantee your safety if you come in. And if you do come in and try and do anything, we'll arrest you in order to prevent a breach of the peace. So I thought that was appalling. So I decided to go ahead with what I was going to do. So I put on a clerical shirt and I wrapped up an Israeli flag in my squash bag, and I stood on the steps of the Anglican Cathedral in Sydney, which is directly opposite the town hall, and in the square between the town hall and the cathedral is where these rallies all start. And I watched them start, and it was just, the atmosphere was just full of hatred, just so thick with hatred of Israel and of Jewish people. So I took out my flag and I stood on the steps of the cathedral and I waved an Israeli flag, and I wanted to take a stand for Australia to say, at this time, we cannot give control of the center of our city to a group of jihadists supporting, rapists supporting, terrorists supporting people who want to drive the Jews out of the center of Sydney and occupy it for their support of what happened on October the 7th. It was just appalling. So I waved the flag, 1,000 eyes turned on me, a bunch of keffiyeh-wrapped thugs sort of chased me out of the square. I beat a hasty retreat and then ran up Bathurst Street and hid behind a police van up on George Street while the police dispersed the sort of 15 or 20 or so thugs who were chasing me. And that changed everything for me, because it became clear to me then, and in the aftermath of it, as we saw that rally then unfold, they went down to the Opera House, they burned Israeli flags, they had horrific chants, it made the international news. But our government let it happen. They kept the Jews out, and they gave the center of our city over to a bunch of thugs. And I thought, you know what, we have to mobilize Australians to say, no, we don't want that kind of hatred here. We don't want to bring those divisions here. And we have to stand alongside the Jewish community. Because in Germany in the 1930s, I'm not sure if you know this, but it was a very Christian country. About 20% of the churchgoers supported Hitler. About 20% opposed Hitler. But the middle 60% just were quiet and didn't want to get involved, didn't want to be political. And so what happened then was Sundays became the most popular day for Jews to be rounded up in Germany in the late 30s and early 40s, because that was the day all the Christians in their villages were in church. And so they would round up their neighbors, they would sing their hymns to drown out the sounds of their Jewish neighbors being taken off to gas chambers. Oh. So I thought, this is what we have to make sure never happens in Australia, that we have to make anti-Semitism, the persecution of Jewish people, unthinkable in this country, because it's un-Australian. And the way to go about that is to renew our commitment to being a liberal democracy founded on Judeo-Christian values and principles.